right, so in accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, we are conducting this meeting in a hybrid model, both virtually and in person. The Public Works Commission is conducting this meeting April 10th, 2024 at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on the Zoom platform and in person, in accordance with the town's policy directive and guidelines issued on April 1st, 2020 and amended on May 7th. I ask that all Public Works Commissioners, town staff, and presenters activate their video and mute their microphone unless they have something to say or are participating in the committee dialogue. For members of the public, when I open the meeting to public comment, in order to be recognized, please use the raise hand option in Zoom or the *9 by phone. If you are recognized, please state your name and any relevant affiliations. You may state your address if you choose. Public comments will be limited to 15 minutes with no more than 2 minutes allocated to any one speaker. Answers to questions, unless very brief and fact-based, will be deferred to future meetings. The commission welcomes written comments at any time. This meeting will be recorded and will be available for later viewing on the town's website. All right, I, Andrea Solomon, hereby call this meeting to order. Since we're all here in person, we don't have to do voice votes. I mean, we can do voice votes. Okay, so let's see, our second action item is to review the approval of minute. We're gonna do that next time, since this is like a last minute meeting. How about the calendar, future proposed meeting dates? So we have one tentatively set on April 24th. I know Alan questioned whether we needed that meeting or not.
So it's really up to you. It depends. It was to prepare for town meeting in the event there were some last minute thoughts. There was also a couple items that we were thinking might be time sensitive, but I realized it could wait until May or June, so it's not required. So it really is a question on whether you want to just keep that meeting and then sort of.
I'm away. So
Oh, so you're away, okay.
I'm here. I have it on my calendar. Would it make any sense to keep it on the calendar? And then cancel, then if you don't
Yeah.
need it,
Sure,
cancel it.
I think that makes sense.
okay.
Do we know if our colleagues are gonna, if we can have a quorum?
Yeah, we'll find out. We'll
Okay.
find out
I
after
mean, I
this
could
meeting.
probably be by Zoom.
Okay, we'll figure that out then.
Okay.
So we'll leave it as tentative.
As
It's
a-
tentative.
as a-
Yeah, and I'll work with Andrea on any items other than town meeting, but you'll know after this kind of where we are.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna do public comment first because I did get some feedback that we are in such a rush at the end of our meetings to get
Okay.
out of here that so
Okay.
if there's public comment about anything not on the agenda, we're just gonna try it first a couple of times, and then when Sven is chair, he can do whatever he decides. But I did get that feedback. I
Okay.
don't get a lot of feedback, but I got that feedback. So is there any public comment? Probably not. Or public doesn't come.
I'll look on I'm looking here, I don't see it. If you have a public comment in your remote, please raise your hand.
Nobody here.
No, it doesn't look like it.
Okay, all right, so, commissioners' comments, does anyone have anything that they would like to draw attention to? I think we decided, I
Not at
think,
this time, yeah.
okay,
Not yet.
yeah, maybe later. All right, and so we'll go on to, D3 town meeting article review and presentation. So I thought we could discuss 38 and 39 first, because we have Jason here and also Alicia, the citizen petitioner. And we can have a discussion about the logistics of bringing a cell tower first to, we could do Kai's Road, which is 38 or, I mean, 39. Okay, so let's do Kai's Road first, which is actually Article 39.
Okay,
And so I think we all know how much we need cell tower coverage, and I really do thank citizens for looking into all possibilities. But specifically to this campus, maybe we could just review what the logistical issues may be.
Before,
Go ahead.
can we clarify sort of what our outcome is here? We're doing this, as I understand, because are we trying to make a
Provide.
statement to the select
Select
board?
board, yeah, who was
Well,
interested in,
we're making our position known to the town specifically the select board, they asked us for
Right.
what our position was.
On these two,
Correct.
for
Yeah.
these two, okay, so that's the purpose of this
Yes,
discussion. I just wanted to be clear.
exactly,
Okay.
yeah. So, without getting into like all the background, which we do have, thanks to both Jason and Alicia, that we, know why we need it and why these sites might be viable sites, but there are logistical considerations to the Kaiser Road campus, so.
Well, it would be helpful to me to get an idea of how much square footage is needed for such a placement and how close to the wetlands it can be.
Okay, so for the Kaiser Road campus? Or either?
Yes, wetlands is only here.
Yeah, okay. All right, so I don't know if it's helpful to have Jason and Alicia come up.
Andre, I can also let you know, I'm gonna introduce, Russ Carlstead, who's our facility manager. Russ can be part of this conversation because he's starting to look at facilities in total for the town of Concord. And has experience with cell tower siting and, his, professional background. So he can
That'd be
he
great,
can
yeah.
also weigh
Okay.
in, but I have a few visuals
So
that
why
might
don't
be
all three of
helpful.
you come on up,
Yeah, that'd be great.
join us.
Come on
And
down.
Bob, if you could share the screen with me, might be helpful.
I'm sorry, can you remind me your name? I'm David DeLong.
I'm Alicia Voyage and I live at Westford Road and I'm a citizen petitioner.
Oh, yes, okay, you're the petitioner, great. That's okay.
I'm the town's chief technology officer and also the interim light plan
Okay,
director.
Alan, you should be all set. You are now a co-host.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, so so wetlands first. Who would know that? Jason?
So I think maybe it would help, Alicia, if you could outline the article, just what the ask is, and then, because we can't, there's no proposed location in the article.
Correct. It's just out of sight.
It just
Right.
says at Kai's Road.
Right, right. Yeah, my question was, what's the impact? What would be the impact of a cell tower on CPW
So
operations?
I'll speak to that and have, Russ, help us at least on this campus. So aside from the technical aspects of the viability, feasibility of functional antenna, which is really not a public works area of expertise, it's what would the impact be on the campus, or how could it be accommodated? And one thing that's kind of interesting, we haven't had a conversation, and early on, we were ready, willing, and able to sort of, talk, but it never got to our, radar. This campus houses most of Concord Public Works, which includes our water, sewer, office, operations area, garage, and storage. It also includes highway grounds, both office, operations, garage, and some storage, including a salt shed. It includes our engineering division, which is sort of in the second floor of 133 Kai's Road. There's three different, there's actually four structures on this campus. There's the 133, which is highway grounds operations, office, engineering office. We have the salt shed. We have the 135 Kai's Road, which is water sewer operations, office, director's office and support. And then we have this 141, which is the planning, land management office space. And then there are some peripheral activities that are kind of used in this campus, including presently a cardboard receiving area. We actually have the part of this campus is also the wastewater pump station right here. And in essence, that's what the campus has been used for. When you get into the site needs, it's interesting, and I'm not sure if everybody's aware of this. Public Works has been flagged to be, we have a high need of redevelopment or relocation. And it's been on the radar for the capital plan for the town of Concord for some time. There was a facility study done and completed in 2020. And it identified various needs of all municipal properties and structures, and it was flagged that in addition to the townhouse, there was a need at Public Works to do something. I have some images I can share. Police and fire, also over on Walden Street, there were some needs. So we have money that's been set aside for us to do a assessment. We have not had the staff nor bandwidth to move that, advance it forward. But what's quite clear is we are already out of capacity for existing operations. And that's been flagged in a lot of studies. The whole idea of a cell tower introduces just what would be an additional constraint, depending on, what our, our opportunities are. We know we don't have a lot of room. In fact, I can share with you a little bit, just so you can kind of get a sense of the lay of the land on this. I have some pictures that might help, and then, part of the discussion. I want to be clear, it's not to weigh in on the viability of a cell tower. It would just be, how would a cell tower, what would that do to our planning and potential design, right? That's what we could sort of speak to. And I just have to say right out of the gate, we do not have adequate property to expand our operations in a way that would be desirable. So as you'll see, I'll kind of share with you, if I go to a presentation here, I've got a couple slides that might be helpful, but this is the campus. It's interesting. Why is it? There's a delay here, right? So this is Keyes Road aerial view. And if you look up, we're located in this building right here. That's 141. This is the water sewer office, administration, and director's office area. This is our garage and operations area for water sewer. And then this is a parking area / storage space back here. This is the 133. This is across the street. And this is what I call the administrative management side of highway grounds and engineering. And then back here, we have the storage garage area and break area for the operations crew. And then over here, we have the salt storage pile. So and then over here, we have, this is the pump station. So that's our existing conditions. The yellow line, it's kind of faint. You can see that is if I kind of show here, this is the property line. And in essence, pretty much every square foot of our existing campus is utilized and not necessarily, we've looked at all the efficiencies possible, but when we looked at what the existing needs and future needs of the campus would look like, there's been 3 concepts that were floated as part of that facility study. And this is just sort of the public record so people are aware. One is all the development or increase in area for office or break area, whatever, is going to be vertical. There's no way to expand the footprint. And so there's been discussion about expanding. This is what they call option B in the report. This is at 133, putting some additional space up on the second floor and expanding up. We have, I'm sorry. This is incorrectly marked. This is the water sewer division. This is 135 Keyes Road. This is where the first floor would be expanded upwards. So that would become office, administrative space. On the campus, on the building next to us, this is 133. I'm sorry, the mislabeling there. They're talking about sort of a little bit of a bump out on the second floor, and some modest sort of coming out onto the sort of sidewalk there.
Yeah, just to take over that low roof area.
Yeah.
Go above that, so.
So it's in a lot of flux.
It's in flux,
Mhm.
but, and this is not even ideal. This is if you were to make some sort of incremental change, it's not ideal, but it's an option. The preferred option, or at least what they seem to think is if we could, they'd sort of level the old buildings. These are all old, very, old. This building is not considered, this is kind of historic. This isn't part of the plan. They wouldn't change this. But there would be, remove those two buildings and on this campus, put a new sort of office administration, customer service building, followed by operations buildings with plenty of storage for our equipment.
Cause right now, we don't even have enough room to store all the like trucks and like plows and all that can't even be here, right?
Exactly, that
And
we,
there's-
we store outside and we
Mhm.
also relocate off campus, but not sheltered. It just goes
Yeah.
stored outside elsewhere and in an ideal world, the heavy equipment we're spending, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars per, rolling, that kind of fleet. And we're being efficient, but a lot of that is, the useful life is certainly compromised by not being
Sure.
able to sort of, keep it enclosed. But just wanted you to be aware of these concepts for this campus. And I had Russ just give us, there was a question on the scale and size of these cell towers. And again, this is if it were to be accommodated. Let me go up here.
Well, I think too, like our campus also, Twice a year gets changed all around for the drop off, swap off, like that's a huge event. So we wouldn't want to hamper that. I don't know if that could be moved anywhere else. Because it's
Well-
hard enough to get it done at this campus.
Yeah, and we also actually have a plan that's between what we just showed and where we are. Presently, we don't have space, so we're looking at, and we're gonna tease the idea of a trailer that we will locate here to house our, you see facilities doesn't really have a home. So we're trying to create a place for facilities. They'll have a trailer.
Facilities not have a facility.
All right, now, and I have to premise, a trailer is not as bad as you would think. I've actually worked out of a trailer. It can be a reasonable temporary, accommodation, but that's what it is. And in fact, where we're looking at, I'm just gonna put this out there, the one place we think we could locate sort of a critical need for us is in the same area. If I go to, the campus, this area here, see this? That's where the cardboard
Yeah.
dumpsters are. That's likely where we could put, and we were just talking just the other day, if we were put a trailer somewhere to keep it out of the traffic flow and out of our operations area, where would it fit? And just for the trailer, this was the designated, if anywhere, it will be here. And even by doing that, it's gonna require, we have to rethink our present cardboard receiving
Mhm.
practices, which we know is a need and we know it's long been a problem, but just to put a little context, this campus is pretty crowded. There is a chance, and this is important for everybody to understand, with Russ coming on board and his experience and the broader town interests, including MCI, including 2229 Main Street, including potentially Peabody School becoming vacant. We're starting to look at what are the broader town's needs from that study and what should we be doing as far as a long-term, short and long-term plan. And the long-term plan could mean that we just repurpose this campus, if it's in the town's best interest, to some other municipal use or even sell it to make other things happen. So these are on our radar of what we're trying to work around, and it's frustrating because, we know the hand to mouth issues that we presently have, which is tight. But the future, either modification of the site for public works or for another municipal operation or for a private purpose. Those are all what we've got on our table for consideration. So that's the background. And, I don't know as far as, not to take any kind of wind out of the design information, but based on Russ's experience, he sort of gave me an example of what is a monopole. Yeah, I'm kind of novice at this. What does it look like? And basically, Russ, if you want to just walk us through this concept or design, because you've got some familiarity with this, is what you kind of had as a concept.
Yeah, well, this is, I forget what town that was from, but it's just that's a 100-foot monopole, I think, with a 100-foot base. I can't remember if that was a 100-foot or 50-foot. So, you know, we got the required fall areas mapped out, whatever it is. So every one of these will have a shed or an electric room, will have an emergency power generator. And it'll have to have deeded access and easement rights to the property for the cell tower in perpetuity of the life of the cell tower. So we'll have agents of whoever owns the tower, which could be us or could be somebody else, we don't know. We'll have agents of the cell carriers, multiple carriers, will have access on and to this site that we have no control over. So those would be 24/7 accessibility. We really don't want that from a liability standpoint on certain portions of sites, just because accidents happen and other things happen. And we're also trying to get away from generator usage on town sites and go green and all that stuff. So there's a number of issues with the operations that would curtail our use of our site here currently, which is already too tight. This is just what's typical. You see, if they put it in a, you know, some kind of residential 1 or 2 zone anywhere. That's a 50-foot space right there with the monopole, 50-foot monopole with probably 3 carriers on it. They surround it with the nice greenery so it looks nice, and that's what typically happens. And that's all fine and good. And, you know, we all know we need cell tower coverage around, and we're not against that. But when you put a 50-foot or 100-foot square, it has dedicated use to people outside of our operation, it takes away from our function here on the site. And this shows the purple is a 50-foot and the blue is a 100-foot. And anywhere we put it, it will stop our truck traffic from, you know, we have certain turning radiuses with the big trucks. We have a fuel depot out near Kai's Road entrance, and you can point to that. There's a fuel depot right there where the police come, all of the town operators come here, fuel up their vehicles. So we can't obscure that or block that. Where here is in the middle, it takes that one in the lower, right next, that guy, that pushes all of our vehicles out and away. We don't have access to the salt shed. We have to find other locations for vehicles. Same one for it's north of there, it pushes all those vehicles away. And then the one that's out in the middle, near the gas line, gas pumps, is it just takes away all the parking that we have for ready storage for the vehicles and access in and out of the barn. It just doesn't, it will stop the operation from happening the way it happens now. So it just illustrates how tight the site really is. We can't make it any bigger because of the wetlands. The other thing is, do towers even work on this site? When you think about the massive base they have to dig, what are the soil conditions? We don't even know if it'll work here because this is probably a lot of bad soils down below, and what would that take to make it work? But the biggest thing is how it affects our operation. So, not against cell towers. We just have, our operation has to function.
Can I answer your question a little bit? Just share my screen too.
Yeah, Bob, can you share?
He gave it to me already.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so,
Let me stop sharing. Yeah.
Alicia, do you have something you wanted to say? You look like you had something.
Well, I was gonna answer what Jason
oh, go ahead.
had originally suggested and just clarifying what the warrant article is actually asking. And as a citizen petitioner, we don't really have the power to demand a cell tower be placed anywhere. So the warrant article is actually asking the town residents to support putting forth a request for proposals, which is the first step in inviting wireless companies to submit ideas. So if the whole town voted yes on this, it would not mandate a cell tower be placed immediately. It's just that first step, which is necessary when leasing out town-owned land, that a request for proposals has to go out. I'm correct. So I just wanted to clarify
Right.
that we wouldn't,
Yeah.
you know, suggest that we know exactly, and this is extremely helpful to hear.
And we're being asked to basically offer an opinion to the select board, as I understand it, whether we think it's a good idea
Right.
from the public works.
Operations
Right.
perspective,
Okay.
yeah.
And I'd say there's 4 things that I would have to be convinced of in order to support this. One is that there's space to do it.
Yeah.
Which I'm hearing there's not. It's pretty tough, very tough. 2 is that other permits like Historical Commission, National Park, other, and believe me, by the way, I am cell tower, so there's no bias about not doing this. 3 would be the cost of the RFP process, what the town is, what I'm voting for as a citizen to spend money on just the
Yeah.
process. And 3 is frankly, what else is already going on in downtown in terms of the tower?
Yeah.
And are you familiar with what's happening at Tricon, at the church?
A little bit, Jason is
They've,
more.
they've got agreement. I'm a member of the church.
but- Okay,
And they have agreement on a contract with Verizon. They're just waiting to get it signed. And so,
That's like inside news.
well, I've got inside content sources.
Wow.
Yes, and they said it's just very slow. Which is very bureaucratic, which is another layer on top of it. We're starting from scratch. You know, this is a tower that's already installed, that's in place. They have to change some windows. They want to put fiberglass in instead of glass or something, but it's all done. It's teed up. And again, that would cause me not to say, well, let's be
of
mucking
course.
around here.
Yeah.
When you talk about the landfill, that's a different conversation.
Yeah, that's what I thought we.
So, and just recognizing we have a lot of items to cover
Yes,
today, I
yes.
want to.
Yeah,
So I just
Sure.
wanted to answer your question with 2
Please.
things. The green
Thank you.
shows the wetlands that are on the
Okay.
property. So you can see, you know, this long strip down here and then up in the north western corner. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is that there has been an RFPs issued for Kai's Road before.
Mhm.
So when we talk about like a hypothetical size, we kind of know what they've proposed. And so here was an example of a previous one, and Russ, your numbers weren't far off. They were looking for about 42 feet by 120 feet for their site that they would look at. And I think originally when the RFP was issued,
Was this for a tower?
Yeah.
A first cell tower?
yeah. And this is a response from a carrier, a tower company saying, here's what we would do. And they proposed this site here. And at the time, the Public Works crew, and I don't know if this was your predecessor or you, but they said that we just can't deal with this loss of space. So they reissued the RFP, hoping that they could clarify that we needed to reserve this space. And we don't have good documentation as to what happened at the second RFP, but we know that the challenges were the space that you were mentioning. You know, it was a lot of room on the campus.
I just say, so Terry Ackerman's
Yeah.
hand is up. I don't know if you wanna.
Yeah.
Terry?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, hi, Terry.
Thank you for having this conversation, and, you know, I know space is really limited there. So just to play devil's advocate, because we might get this question, can the cell tower be built on top of an already existing building at Kai's Road? Like I saw the TBA architect, plan that you put up, Alan, where you're gonna maybe make a second floor for a break room or whatever. Could they make like a cell tower up on a second floor somehow?
I would say not the current configuration of the buildings. They're not structurally sound enough to handle a tower. The amount of money it would take to beef up their building structure to handle a tower load in the wind would
Okay.
be insurmountable.
Okay, well, that's important to know. My other question is, if there were to be a RFP here, how many years does it generally take between, let's say, you put out the RFP and then they gotta design it, permit it and build it? Is it gonna maybe take 2 or 3 years? And the reason I'm asking that is because if there's a real possibility that DPW is going to move to a different location, that might happen in 5 years, 6 years. Just trying to think through all the possibilities before we say we can't do it. And I'm not advocating one way or the other, just trying to think it through.
Did you have any-
Yeah,
Well, the timeframe could be anywhere from 6 months to 2 years, kick off to implementation.
Okay,
So it's hard to tell.
so that means DPW would still have 3 to 5 to 8 years at that campus, even if they move, while a cell tower is there. So that actually does not seem very feasible. That's what I wanted to know. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the only site that makes sense for me is out here. And whether that's big enough, I mean, it's obviously not hid,
Mhm.
it's out there right in the front, but it's the only part of the campus that isn't used all the time.
Mhm. And, but the only challenge would be, again, we don't know
Permitting,
what the future of this campus will be.
that's true, yeah.
And it just becomes, we're all trying to,
Right,
it's like nailing jello to the wall, and we know that, but that's our reality. So it's just a question of if there was a reuse of the campus and we were to move and you have a cell tower, does that restrict or constrain the next highest and best use of the property? We don't know.
Yeah.
Or we know it would have an impact, but.
go ahead, please.
I don't know how feasible this is, but something that I have been thinking about and talking about is the possibility of temporary facilities. I know some communities have worked with companies to put up temporary cell towers, and that would be in your realm, but I don't know if that is a possible solution if in the RFP we talk instead of something long-term permanent, something temporary. I know that's not ideal, but if we are talking about a campus that's in a state of flux, and if there is potential to be moving operations to other areas, that might be a community solution that could be worked into the RFP, maybe.
Right, but it appears now that the campus doesn't have space
Right,
to be able to even put something, even temporarily, it would inhibit operations.
right. I just don't know if size is different with the temporary facilities versus the permanent. I don't know actually what the size is, so.
But I'm also like hesitant to, like, let's say we were all very excited about this campus, but then the logistics proved impossible. We're sort of dragging along yet another cell phone
Yes.
company into a situation that they're
Right.
going to back out of and then run away again.
Right.
Like, so I don't want to scare anyone up with the difficulties of this particular site. But, did you have something else you wanted to say?
No, on the temporary ones, I've seen them used in different sporting events I go to. I do like long distance bicycle rides with thousands of people, and they put the temps up. And they're very short.
Mhm.
And they do take up a smaller footprint, but they wouldn't adequately add to the service around here because they wouldn't get above the trees. So we used to use them, we use them out in Iowa and out in the Midlands, and there's no trees around, so it's not a big deal. But it wouldn't give you the service add you want here. I haven't done the science on it. That's what my gut's telling me.
We contacted Verizon to ask about medium term, because if we had an urgent disaster or maybe the 250th, they would bring portable generators and some things for very tight, dense areas for a short period of time. It's usually 3 to 5 days at the most. We asked them, like, would you do it for 6 months or a year or 2 years? And they just said, yeah, I'm almost positive, but we'll check. And it was a no, like, we don't do that. So now, could we issue an RFP for, 6 to 12 months? I don't know. Don't know about that. What would be the timeline to get it done? Would it be faster than what's gonna happen at Tricon? I don't know. I think also when you issue an RFP, the response is dependent on the money they think they're gonna get. And so the first call they make is to the carriers. How much is the site worth to you? If it's worth nothing, the tower companies aren't gonna build it because it's not profitable. So if Verizon feels like they have a home, T-Mobile feels like they have a home, then it's AT&T and Dish, and then they have to say, is it worth the risk? I mean, these are all public meetings, so people are gonna know that we don't know what's happening with this site, and when they're looking at a 20-year lease or longer, I don't know what their demand would be. If it were of just hitting a button, like issue an RFP and see what the interest is, I think, I don't know what the problem would be, but it's not just hitting a button. It's.
We have to have, a company comes in here, builds the tower, then they lease that out to the cell tech, to the, like Verizon and Sprint and all that, so, okay.
Just to be clear, the discussion here is really about the existing warrant item, right? We can't be talking about an alternative, I mean, a
Right,
variation on it. So, is there more to this, do you guys need more input in terms of,
No, I don't think so.
Do you want to
this
make a
particular
motion?
item? Yes,
I mean, I guess,
go ahead,
well,
please.
I'm gonna make a motion that I think that the Public Works Commission recommends no action on Article 39. The Kaiser
39,
site.
correct, 39. I
Because-
second that emotion, I second.
Because of the mentions that you've made, that the site just doesn't allow us to continue to do the public works actions that we need to.
You second,
I'll
all in
second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that was unanimous for
So-
39.
So, yes.
So we'll discuss 38, which is, has the similar background and everything, but 38 is the compost site.
Yeah, and
And
I'll
so-
just bring that up so people
Okay.
can get just oriented there,
And
just,
again, we'll talk about like the logistics
Yeah.
of that site and
We're
whether
gonna-
or not that's workable without interfering with what is already going on at that
yeah,
site.
so just for location, so you have the high school is up here.
Mhm.
And then this is Walden Pond down here. And this is the compost site, which presently, abuts, the Walden Woods area, which is another sort of property area of interest. You can kind of see the protected open space around here. There's always been, sort of challenges, and that Public Works has been using this. It was a former landfill, just for perspective. When it was closed in the late 90s, it was capped, and that cap sort of created no longer sort of that heavy activity, but Public Works continued to use that campus for a variety of operations. But then the mound became, once it was closed, a very, viable option for a cell array. And you can kind of see as I zoom in, I'm just sort of identifying, this is the campus here. This is, we call the present compost site. This is the solar array that is presently under lease. This area, for the most part, is elevated. It's sort of a mound, and it's just because it's been built on the old landfill. The mound itself has certain constraints as far as what can be put on top of it, but it's very common and advantageous for cell and, landfills, closed landfills to cohabitate. The area down below here, it's just under 4 acres, is the active area for the compost. Material, debris piles, snow piles, things like that are used fairly actively. And up here is, part of the Public Works kind of storage, equipment. We have the paint shed up there. Anything else, Eric? Eric Shaw, who is the Assistant Highway Ground Superintendent, is, responsible for helping manage that campus for operations. Am I missing anything? Kind of?
It's also sort of a backup storage area for our seasonal equipment. So a lot of the winter equipment will be stored up there, during the warmer months. And then some of the equipment that we have for warmer months goes up there in the winter time and vice versa. So it's kind of a multi-use backup satellite storage area.
Yeah. With that said, I'd also just let the commission know historically, and I believe you sort of pointed, it had been used as a cell tower, was up, and it was there just for a short period of time. I don't know the details, but I believe it was located in this general vicinity here. And at this point, these are sort of, just want to give you the existing conditions. Then moving forward, this is an area where I think there's a little less, there's not the immediate angst of how can you fit this here? It would just be a matter of, we haven't gone through that exercise. And, the only word of caution I have is for Public Works. And again, that's what I'm sort of focused on. We talk about the drop-off, swap-off activities, the mattress, collection. As we're starting to do waste reduction, with the curbside pickup, we tend to provide additional services. In fact, we're doing the mattress collection over on this campus right now. Styrofoam is now over there. We're contemplating if we need to put the trailer on this campus. We've discussed maybe relocating the cardboard collection where we could then have it better controlled, look at what the costs are and figure out a better way of doing it. So we still have uses, not to, the extent that we'd be using on this campus, but we want to make sure any conversation is done with the idea that, future use, where are we going with public works? Jason, with the cell, with the solar array and that there was some discussion about potential expansion and that sort of thing as well, but.
Yeah, the solar task force was looking to do a $9.2 million borrowing article on this town meeting. They're gonna make no motion on that now, and drop the solar because the feasibility for that site was not complete. But both the company who leases this site now and the solar task force were looking at greatly expanding the number of panels and building on the slope that Alan was pointing out that is directly to the south of the panels, kind of that narrow strip there, like coming down. And probably doubling the size of the total array in that site. Again, I don't think it would take up the entire property, but I know that they were looking at that. They dropped it from their article, but it's still at the top of their list. So whether it's the company Kearsarge that runs the panels now or the solar task force, there's a lot of interest in using that site because as Alan mentioned, there's very few uses for landfill and it's already wired to accommodate, large amounts of electricity. But yeah, nothing is happening at this time.
And I did just very briefly communicate with somebody from the solar task force who off the cuff initially said that he did not see a conflict between solar expansion and cell tower, but that would remain to be seen with real demands.
The town owns that land? All this
Yes,
land?
it's
Okay.
town land, and there's been
Okay.
a lot of discussion, again, historically,
Yeah,
it may come
yeah,
up, because
yes.
it sort of comes up
Oh,
every
yeah.
5 to 10 years with, Walden Woods
Yes.
desiring to sort of preserve that, in perpetuity, to not develop it into anything, beyond, even what it is not necessarily their ideal, but that's always a pressure.
The town keeps voting against that.
Correct, because it's, these operations, the kind of what I call the underbelly of public works, when it's the material storage, there's a lot of equipment, it's a lot of people coming and going, and the fact that this is right off of Route 2, it's kind of centrally located, it gets a lot of use, and it's beneficial to the community. I mean, the compost itself is an incredible reuse of materials that, historically would get even thrown away or incinerated, but.
Can I just say?
Yeah.
What makes this more interesting to me as a place to at least explore the possibilities is we haven't talked at all about the need for cell coverage up here in the high school, right? And the lack thereof, or what the impact is. Does anybody have any?
Public Works is not. We not lately, but I think there has been discussion
So
on
can you-
need, and maybe Jason can talk about that.
Yeah, for alternatives in this area, the schools were pursuing siting with a carrier to put a tower on their property.
Uh-huh.
Those conversations seem to have stopped. The other alternative is another parcel that's near the school where there's a private party engaged in active conversations with a carrier to site something in that area. Similar to the sort of Tricon situation, but the town is removed from that, where,
Right.
we've put parties in contact and that's kind of where we're at. So those are the kind of options that we know. The strip of land to the left of this property is owned by the Commonwealth and then also the Walden Woods. So there's like a strip of, that's mostly Walden Woods, but to the left, Alan, if you drag the screen a little
Like
bit,
that,
that way.
over here.
Yeah, so that parcel across the street from Concord Academy, that's owned by the state. We tried to work with them to say, are you interested? And we didn't get any hits on that.
And there's a couple houses and, farm stands along there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, this seems to have more possibilities at least. I mean,
Does the Public Works have any objection to this being explored from your planning standpoint? Does it?
No, it's just the fact that, we certainly urge that if anything were to be done, it would not compromise, at minimum, our existing operations.
Mhm.
And ideally, we are at that precipice of what expansion is necessary because of the trash recycling drivers, which is source reduction, keep it out of the curbside, and then where and how do we accommodate it? We don't really have another site that we would be hosting that kind of activities, and, you know, we've talked with Justine St. John and, you know, Eric and Aaron, you know, there's opportunities to do a little bit more down there, but, you know, we wouldn't be talking about major expansion, but we just have to factor that in.
So Alan, tell me more about the 6/10 of an acre. Where
Yeah,
the
that was where
Paint
the,
shed is, and
yeah,
is that where the mattress work is now too?
that's
or-
where the paint, what else do you have up there, Eric? That's sort of with the seasonal
It's
storage.
primarily seasonal storage right now.
Oh,
For
okay.
a lot of our larger plow equipment, we don't, once we, you know, sort of remove the larger wing plows and sanding equipment, there's no real room in the yard for it here. So we've been
So
storing up.
I guess my question is, to the right, you know, northeast of that, you know, assuming this is north, you know, north.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
right for this
Yeah,
area.
right around there. I mean, if there was access available to the cell tower maintenance kinds of people, would that mess up your operations, or can they go alongside there? I mean,
So I don't think what this picture shows is that the topography drops off steep right there on the edge of that property.
it goes down toward Walden Woods?
Yeah, there's a
See
big,
this?
there's a big
Okay.
ravine
See
that
this,
goes down to a pond there.
That depression here, so this sort of
Wow.
drops down.
Okay,
Yeah,
towards
so
the-
right up to the edge of that 0.6 acre parcel, we have sort of cleared out the area as far as we can go to fit as much equipment up.
oh,
there
okay,
as
gotcha,
possible.
okay,
Once you go in beyond that, it literally drops off
okay,
down.
because on the earlier picture that Alan had, it looked like it was forested.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
obvi-
yeah, yeah.
Obviously, it may be some tree, but it's not level
It's
ground.
the benefit of seeing multiple seasons, right? So this is that's what it looked like, you know, in
Yeah,
Summertime.
during summer, so.
I mean, I would guess if we were to put up an RFP, we would certainly want to have restrictions as to where the locations would be and the availability. Now, typically, right now, it's only open to the public Wednesday afternoons and Saturday mornings.
Correct.
So we would have to give a key to the
Well, they'd
maintenance
have to have
people
access.
or something like
correct,
that so that they could get
Right.
into the site when they needed it.
That's right. And I think the other, you know, and again, I don't want to speak because we haven't had lots of discussion. I just know there's, and I don't know if Walden Woods is, if you engaged, you know, if they've had a voice. I'm not sure if they've been asked. I just know
We don't have
they're a
to-
serious player. What's that?
It's not us, so.
No, it's not us. That's,
Yeah.
exactly. And so, you know, even to the
So,
point of,
I think part of the goal of this warrant article would be to bolster the town against that kind of pushback, that citizen community support for a site would really help in that kind of situation. We show support.
Yeah,
I've heard enough to form an opinion
Okay.
about this.
all right.
Do you?
Any comments
Jim, do
or-
you- Yes, any other comments or
Anyone?
anybody,
or does anybody else need, thoughts or welcome for other comments?
there, let me, out of my, I don't see if anybody has a hand up.
Because again, all we're doing is agreeing to support opening this up for discussion.
You're providing a recommendation of affirmative action to have it be considered or, no action. What's-
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
Or abstain.
Or abstain. It could be another alternative, which is certainly, an option.
Do one of you want to make a motion? Or do you have more questions?
I'm not opposed, but I'm not sure I'm supportive.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a concern. I mean, I'm trying to look at one concern is that the RFP should be out no less than 3 months after town meeting. To me, that doesn't give an awful lot of time for the town officials who are going to be putting this together to really talk to Public Works about what their issues are and make sure that the RFP is put together in such a way that
Doesn't
it
hinder,
protects,
yeah.
you know, that someone can say, oh, well, I like this spot, you know, close to the drive-in there, you know, we can, you know, and that, you know, that causes more concerns for us. So I'm not opposed, but I'm not, you know, I'm not sure. I think it's bad if we don't take a position, so I think we have to take a position. So I guess I'd have to say I would be in support of it with additional restrictions or modifications to give the town officials more time to put an RFP out. Do you understand my
Yes, I do.
concern?
I'm new to town, I've never.
No,
went
no,
to
I
town meeting. I
understand.
understand that there can be modifications.
Can
You have to
amend,
check
you
with
can-
moderator.
I'm gonna have to
Yes,
check
check with
on
them.
it.
Okay, yes,
you
but-
could typically amend.
typically they don't like
There could be an
petition ones,
amendment,
but we could we could amend it ourselves or something like that.
perhaps.
And the petitioner can make a friendly amendment from the floor to change the time from 3 months to 6 months, 12 months, what. And those usually go over pretty well in the towns I've lived in.
Okay.
From the town's perspective, Jason, is the RFP, the work that you have to do, is it lengthy?
So I haven't issued an RFP for cell towers, but I've seen them, and I would imagine we would start with previous RFPs that we've issued and sort of tailor it. You know, legal review, planning review, zoning, wetlands, that sort of stuff. You know, I would think that 3 to 6 months seems like a reasonable time, but I don't know exactly how long it's gonna take. I would pray that I'm still the light plant director and can claim that I don't have to do this.
Yeah.
Jason
It's
doesn't
too much
even need
work,
leave.
not because I don't want it to, I know.
Other thoughts?
So,
I agree with what you
Yeah.
said. I mean, I don't want to say no. It's not, it doesn't seem like a firm no,
Yeah.
but I also don't want to restrict any operations that are going on or future plans because we are going to go through a big, a decision about how to maintain recycling in the town and what's going to happen to those big bulk items and that kind of things.
so could we make a motion to support article, I'm sorry, 30 what? 38, but with reservations or with,
Well,
Yes, or-
with the understanding that we would expect that additional time would be given to prepare the RFP. Up to 6 months.
6 months?
I would second that.
Aye.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. All right.
Thank you very much.
Is that
Thanks
enough
so much for being
information for
here.
you guys?
You can see it's
No,
not
communicate
easy for
that
us
to
either.
Yeah.
But you did a great job.
Yeah, this is amazing. I spent my whole morning reading your.
No, you should. I mean, yeah.
Yes, thank you
You're
very much.
professional.
Thank you.
Thanks, Elena.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
Thanks for coming. Do you have another meeting?
Thank you.
Russ does.
Thanks,
yes.
guys.
Thank you, Russ. Thank you, Eric.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Russ.
Jason, thank you.
Jeff, come on up.
Come on up.
Now we talk about
All
water.
we're gonna do is talk about water now.
Did you see there, the EPA made an announcement
Did I
today?
see?
that-
Did
Did you write,
We're all over this at
Did you-
5 o'clock in the morning.
did you write it?
Well, I knew it was coming. I had to explain to people, yes, it is coming, literally.
Today.
Yeah, no, I knew it was just imminent. It just, I'm sure which day, but.
So which one we're gonna do first?
Which one do you guys want to do?
Well, Jeff is
We've been
here.
talking about it all the time.
Yeah, what's
so-
most helpful, what's most helpful for
So
you?
what we're trying to do is,
We're talking about these.
yeah, so the next step is that for this, the Public Works Commission is the sponsor of 3 articles. It's the, borrowing for NAGOG treatment and PFAS treatment.
Mhm.
It is the Stormwater Enterprise Fund,
Mhm.
establishing the fund, and framework. And then
The easement.
the easements, which was interesting, because it's not exclusive to public works needs.
Yeah.
The light plan are, are also included, but somehow you folks were tagged as the sponsor, I think, because engineering asked the questions, and this was a more administrative step. But on a positive note, or at least tentatively, it's been put on the consent calendar, that article.
Yep.
So, I've been instructed to have in the back pocket presentation. If it's pulled. So as you may recall with the consent calendar, if there are 10 people who decide they'd like to hear more, they can pull it. And that means it would then be put in its position as far as, article number and then heard with a brief presentation. So I have that ready.
Is that 18?
That is, I believe so. Let me.
Select board accepts the.
Correct, correct. So that I would say is more of an administrative function right now.
Yeah.
And I would have a couple slides. Well, actually, let me go back to anything on the consent calendar, if it's pulled, requires a presentation. Now, yeah, anything. What we have is our presentations that we've given to the FinCom, through the process. And it is good to have someone available who could, a commissioner, give the presentation, but I could work with them between, if it was pulled, we'd develop a script and it wouldn't be heard till the next night anyway. And we'd literally just have a script for you
Yeah.
to read. It just go over the highlights. And then if there's any real questions and people pulled it because they really want to know more about something, it's expected that staff is there to stand up and address and answer those questions. So that's just the process. So tonight, or this afternoon, we want to have, identify a commissioner who's willing to, or commissioners who are willing to step forward should these articles be taken off the consent calendar. The other stormwater and borrowing, you have the good fortune of, I believe Sven
Yes.
has agreed and is prepared to present, and they would be done likely the same night. And I know he has confidence in, the material and staff to help him where he doesn't. So, but what I did want to do is walk through those presentations because those will be, made.
He's
Next one.
doing both of these?
He's gonna do both of those, yeah,
Okay,
and basically,
He worked a lot with, on the slides and
Yeah.
the numbers and all that.
well, both Sven and Andrea have spent a lot, and Jim, you too, have been
Thank you.
tracking activities and just trying to understand what the questions are and helping staff with, this is what we're hearing, can we, let's dress that up or let's point to those. So I'll go to the, I'm gonna go to, let me just pull up this presentation on the, I'm gonna start with NAGOG, that's Article 17.
Yep.
And just walk you through,
Mhm.
All right, let me share my screen. Now, what will be different is the cover slide. This is the one that we've been out with the dog and pony show. But the cover slide will change to say, maybe, excuse me, Mr. Weber will request affirmative action to the following. And then it's basically this language. And this language is being vetted through council and town moderator, just to make sure it is accurate to the right T's crossed, I's dotted. So this is just the request, and this is the $50 million request for borrowing. For the purposes, again, of NAGOG, and then we've learned, and Sven knows this, in kind of working with him. It's important people want to understand this is not going to be an increase to the property tax. The user fees will fund and pay back the debt, for the borrowing. The sources are identified for NAGOG pond, which includes filtration. Just to remind this group, most of the costs, most of the 50 million is for NAGOG and just the costs that have been incurred due to a lot of delays and having to relocate the site, from next to the pond all the way down Route 2A. But also, and the relocation was required because of what was announced today. We knew this. If we weren't paying attention, we would have been done with the design and started construction, and then it would have been pretty embarrassing. I'm pleased to say we didn't go that route of I think it was about $16.5 million of stranded investment. That would have been a problem. So that's, most of the borrowing is for that. We'll bring up a slide in a minute to show that. Q Cargo well, that's based on the present concentrations of PFAS, which exceed the 4 parts per trillion that just were announced today, in the second division well. It's important to remind town meeting that NAGOG is not new. It's been 20 years in the making, and it's been discussed in the past. The town meeting we don't have final design and construction numbers for any of these, but we need to have the money authorized, town meeting, to be eligible for potential low interest or no interest loans. And that's the only way we can actually get in the queue. And so that's why we're asking for this.
So
Yes,
required for eligibility for state and. federal
Yes.
funding? I mean, maybe that's what Sven is gonna say, and it's okay to
That's a
have that on the
comment.
slide.
I hear you.
Okay,
Okay, that's a good point. It doesn't
doesn't mean we'll get it.
mean we're gonna get it.
But we're gonna ask
To be
for it.
eligible,
but We're
correct,
gonna ask for it, yeah.
correct.
I have to ask you,
Yeah.
when it's useful for you to get feedback? I went through these pretty carefully,
Whenever,
and I have.
tonight you
pretty-
can
pretty-
even.
right, pretty strong feelings
Yeah.
about how this is framed.
Okay,
For example, I think this slide should be second or third or fourth. I think the first question you should be asking is, what's the problem that leads you to ask for what I hear is a crazy amount of money? $50 million is popping into my head. Whoa, why are we doing this? What's changed in our water systems that means we have to do this borrowing? And why is this not just a Concord problem? Well, that's the PFAS, that gets into the larger thing. So what is the problem that's leading us here to ask for this amount of money? What
Let
is,
me do the following. Let me look. I'm just,
Sure.
this
Sure.
isn't a surprise. You saw some of these, so just so you
Yeah.
know, the presentation, I'm gonna go
Yeah.
very quickly.
yeah,
You go from this slide, the highlights, to alternatives,
Yeah.
to a spending plan,
yeah,
to its impact with the capital, to the impact on operating, and then done. Now, the backup
I
slides,
saw these, okay. yeah.
these are if people were to ask, and to some degree, I would be just mindful that Sven was very comfortable with the other.
Yep,
We can juggle it, not a question, but I'm wondering if any of these slides, is this what you're talking
No.
about?
well, you tell me, you're the one who knows the problem and can articulate it. And by the way, I'm happy to get on the phone with.
Sure,
Sven
yeah,
and
that's right.
Debate this
Yeah.
and have some laughs. And, but I just feel very strongly about engaging people emotionally, because I hear that number, 50 million. And it's important for me to quickly know it's not gonna change my property tax.
that
The-
is good to put number one.
What?
It's good to have that
Yeah,
on the.
that's
top.
good.
Yes, and but your point is also, I've heard this, and I've had candid conversations. What if we do
Yeah, well, what if
nothing?
we don't do it? And that's
Yeah,
why
right.
this,
That's the alternatives.
that's why this slide is important.
Yeah, right. So
Alternatives, yeah.
So the first one is an overarching why,
Why?
and that's not clear to you.
Correct.
Okay, all right,
Thank you.
yeah,
That's it.
okay,
Why are we doing this? Why?
Yeah.
And,
all right.
and make it clear that it's not just a Concord problem, this is national, other
Mhm.
towns have to deal with it. What's changed? What shifted? And you can point to the fact that we could have spent $16 million. We could have made a mistake, or gone down this path, but we didn't. But fortunately, whatever.
This is in part, it's a little complicated, but this
Yeah,
is
too complicated.
but this is why.
Yeah, yeah.
See, one of the problems, Sven is only gonna have 5
I know
minutes at the
that.
maximum.
I know that,
And
right?
so he's gonna have to, if he's got 7 slides, he has to move through them.
Right,
And,
but
but he can then wait for questions, and he can answer the questions as long, he can take as long as he wants.
And even I
Answering
can
the
answer
questions.
those, where I can then
Right,
go to
right.
this slide and walk
Right.
people through it.
But I think people won't be listening. This is just David's
Yeah,
opinion. Feel free to ignore it.
Yeah.
People won't be listening if they don't understand why. I
Yeah.
need to know the why. Am I caring about this?
Yeah.
Somebody want to say
Yeah,
something?
that's Terry.
Terry.
Yeah, yeah. Can I just add, I agree completely, and I got a lot of feedback of that there's confusion. Is most of this 50 million for PFAS or for NAGOG? Can you just say right up front,
Yeah,
this much for PFAS, this much for NAGOG, and here's why? I think that would be helpful.
Okay, we do have a slide here.
Maybe that was the
Sure.
problem. This slide I can see fine on the
Much.
computer, but maybe it was too small in the room. I'm not sure, but there's so many numbers. I have to start reading it all. It's gonna take me maybe 60 seconds to read this whole slide, and it's gonna be too long.
I agree with you, Terry. It just, my mind's spinning when I see that slide, and
Okay.
I won't be able to read it in the room.
I love it.
You love it, you numbers
But
guy.
one thought,
You
one
numbers
thought
guys.
is put it
Tastes
in,
great, less filling.
one thought is put it in millions.
Okay,
Then you've got numbers that,
big numbers.
cause, you know, he wants to know where the 50 is.
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay,
Yeah.
so put it in millions,
Yeah,
and you know, some of these numbers you have to round them, but it's not a big deal.
yeah, no, there's millions here, so, yeah.
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 I don't see any 50 million. It's not adding up to 50 anywhere. And,
Yeah, I don't see it, I don't
It
see it.
does, it does.
and
Yeah,
Well, up here it says
32 and
there's
17.
50. Oh, and just to be clear, this is in addition to
Money that's already been done.
16.5 that was already authorized. So this,
well, see,
you
that's.
get into the War and Peace of Nagog. And I could
I
drag you
understand.
down there like
No.
real quickly, so we're trying to
I
keep
get
it
it.
high level,
I get
but I
it.
hear you. Why, and can we make this slide, I'll pop a
much
little bit,
simpler, much simpler.
and I think
But
Jim's
The
recommendation.
bottom three numbers on the right add up to 50 million.
Yeah, and I can hardly see, I can't see them here, much less in the gym at the high school.
But Alan, you have a lot of good information here. You should have this on a handout. So that if someone wants all this, there's the handout.
Will you guys have handouts there? Yes, I
We
know.
will, the only handout we were planning on having was the bylaw for the stormwater, that'll be a handout.
No, I think you need, if you want to make all these points, this is the kind of stuff that would be great on a handout. Or as an extra slide, or both. But the main slide should just have like three numbers. Previously authorized 16 million, new 32 million, total 50. And how much of that is NAGOG and how much is PFAS? Make it really simple.
All right, I hear the comments,
So
Yeah.
maybe, Alan,
yeah,
don't have all the columns. Just have 2016 borrowing, 2024 borrowing.
agreed.
Two-
And don't break it
two-
down to the
two
years,
columns.
that's right,
Right.
Don't break
right.
it, but have this at the very back.
yes.
If
Sure.
people ask, you know.
Because they will.
Are you
they can
doing it
go-
all the way at
right.
the beginning? No, here's where
You
we're
can
gonna
break
be.
it down, then we have that if they
Yes.
want, yeah, got it,
Okay,
got
and
it.
make it in millions.
Because I agree, I think some people want that detail.
Sure,
and some people don't, and I
Yeah.
get that, so I'm not saying you're either right or wrong, but it's just,
yeah,
you know, this is,
Right.
we're in Goldilocks land here.
okay.
I hear you, so that's helpful. So anyway, so with those two comments, again, just so you folks, if people ask, any
Yes.
other,
Yeah,
This
go
is-
back
this
one.
is good.
I don't quite understand the alternatives.
okay, so let me go here.
Yes,
So we've been asked by people, what if we don't
nothing?
do
Yeah,
anything?
Yeah, good.
we
It-
can't.
No,
No,
we
but
can
you-
do not, you can always do nothing, you know what's gonna happen.
Okay,
You know what I
we
told
can
the
give
person?
everybody bottled water. That's,
Yeah,
a-
No, that's an alternative.
That's a solution.
Yeah, that's an
Doing nothing.
alternative. So that's that would be actually your bottled water is point of use. I need to do, I need to add that, cause that
Yeah.
is
It is a
that's what
solution,
you do until, but no one does that. But
correct,
it's too cost, but I have to identify it.
sure.
Okay, see, this is helpful. The other thing, do nothing means continued public health risks, known continued health risks. We know that, because we're not treating it. The next is, we'll end up, because the other thing is NAGOG needs to be filtered.
It
And-
needs to be
and
online,
It needs to be
otherwise,
online,
some of
and
the
so
summers are-
without NAGOG, and we can't continue to just piecemeal this, there will be seasonal water use bans, no question. Your ability to use water during the summer will be compromised significantly without NAGOG. We know that. That's a do nothing. And then the other one is, the regulators are gonna tell us, you're not meeting water quality standards. You're in violation of this act. And here are your fines, and their fines are to incentivize you to do something. So that's the do nothing. Then an alternative that's been asked, and it's a good one, can we not just treat it ourselves? Point of use.
Oh, at the house.
At the house.
Is that what that means?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what that means. And so Sven will say, to treat it, we can now decentralize treatment. That's what you're talking about.
So it's on the individual.
It's on the individual.
If you don't wanna spend the money, you get
Well,
PFAS.
but we're gonna be fined by EPA because we're not helping those individuals out. So it's gonna be complicated, but if you did it, say we said we had a program, we're gonna do point of use treatment at every house. Now we're going to be installing and maintaining and doing a service industry that is not what our design
That's
is.
not even practical.
Because
It's not practical,
Because
but
one of the things you told us was the maintenance that needs to be done to flush the PFAS, filters or whatever.
that's right.
So every house has to have that, and you have to go to every house and,
Well,
Change
do
the
whatever
filter.
it is, flush it or change it,
Yeah.
and then dispose of it.
yeah,
It becomes a very cost prohibitive alternative, but it's an alternative. Now
okay,
also,
so, but point of use treatment, I didn't understand it, so
Yeah,
put a different phrase there.
yeah, just making notes on these.
Do it at
Okay,
home,
yep, perfect, yep. That's cool, that's the industry,
Okay.
but we'll call it
okay,
home treatment.
yes,
right.
yes,
That's
home
better, that's
treatment,
better.
I understand home
Then we'll
treatment,
say,
and then you
then
explain
I'll
it.
do point of use,
Okay,
yeah,
good,
Okay.
I like it.
okay,
One very
Um,
minor thing, Jeff.
yeah.
Again, really stupid
Excuse me, did
question.
anybody call Terry? Just-
Sorry.
Yeah, come on down here, Terry.
Yeah.
The
Um,
water's fine.
right in the beginning, I didn't understand until you got really into it. Is this slide about PFAS or NAGOG? The alternatives for what?
Good point. It's combining both, but we'll make sure that's clear.
Yeah, alternatives to what? Not
Yeah,
invest-
so the alternative for, NAGOG would be similar.
Yeah, I kind of get it now, but
Yeah.
it took me, the whole time you were discussing it to figure it out.
But-
So I think right in the
but-
beginning, you want to say what you're talking about on this slide. Alternatives to what?
Yeah,
treating, alternative to
to
treatment.
not spending the
to
money,
investing.
not having the bond. approved.
Yeah, right, but and that's where even the point of use is not an alternative, it's just an alternative to what we're proposing, spending the money on, which is centralized treatment. See,
Correct, so-
we got a recommendation
we-
of how.
We have to recognize,
Yeah.
that second point needs to be reworked because it doesn't save you money.
Gotcha,
And I guess doing nothing doesn't save you money either. Maybe that's Sven's conclusion at the end.
it is. Yeah, we don't, doing nothing is just,
You could say that doing nothing doesn't save you any money. You just spend it on
And here's
fines
why.
and
Boom, boom,
really
boom.
impractical
right,
solutions.
so this is part of what Sven's narrative is. Doing
Okay.
nothing does not save you money, it just increases your health risk and reduces your service.
He could
Yeah.
just introduce a side by saying that.
Yeah,
Jeff, one very minor point, make the bullets a different color than white, because it'll be easier for me to absorb, do nothing, point of use treatment, regional water supply, they're the higher
oh,
level
yeah, you don't
points.
need a bullet.
So just, no,
We
just,
did the
just
col-
change the
we did the
color, and make them
colors.
yellow
Oh.
or some, so they just jump out, so I can more quickly see the alternatives you're highlighting.
I've heard about emotional colors, we'll have to look into
I don't
this.
care, I don't care.
No,
what
I'm
color.
not kidding, with
Yeah.
presentations.
Yeah, okay.
I've heard this recently about being sensitive to emotional colors.
Yeah,
That was a
I
new
don't
one
care
to
what,
me, but,
just make them a different color, not all white.
all right, so then we get to, and the other big issue is the
One
regional
important-
water
One
supply.
important thing
Yeah.
on do nothing also is we won't end up doing nothing. The
Right.
feds in the state will sue the town and we'll end up having to implement things on their timeline and not our timeline.
Yeah.
And fines on top of it, so it's certainly gonna cost.
As we've learned, doing it later costs a lot more than doing it before.
Yeah, yeah. Then we talked about
Okay.
this slide. Now, this is really the impact on our, capital plan, and you see the fund balance. And the real message is we have been
So I
putting
didn't-
money aside.
How much do we have set aside?
It's probably about 14 million, 13, 14 million.
Well, how can you do it the second year then also?
Because we're gonna start burning down, actually,
So that's not how much you're using, that's how much you have.
that's in our reserve.
Okay, but you're not using it all the first year.
No, we'll be doing this, we'll
Okay,
be,
the way I saw that
Yeah.
slide is how much you were using each year from reserves or from the borrowing.
got it, it's not that. Yeah, so you have, what the capital plan is where see where we're spending the money? This is in 2000, you know, in
26.
FY 26, 27, 28.
Yeah.
That's where the money's really being spent. The first year, we're only, you know, we're burning down. Question is, what is our?
You're probably
reserve?
not burning much because if the next year you've got almost the same amount, because our rates don't give us millions of dollars of excess.
Bob, are you there? Do you have any thoughts on Jim's comment? Bob he's got the
Yeah.
numbers and created these spreadsheets, if you can hear me.
Yes, I can, Alan. I mean, we can zig or zag any way you want as far as the presentation of the numbers.
No, it's the question isn't you see how the balance, we're at about 14 million, right?
Yeah,
Fund balance in FY 25.
yeah,
So we're not using much of
Oh,
it.
yeah, and it shows, and we got a capital plan in 25 of just over, 6 million.
Yep.
yeah. Well, but we also have, and I would have to pull up other slides, and I am concerned I'll crash the whole Zoom meeting
No,
since
no,
it's
no,
running
don't.
on my computer, but my recollection was, don't we have a little bit of bond funding that kicks in FY 25?
Right here
Yeah,
from,
Well, that's the old one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. I mean, we've got $50,000 worth of anticipated spending from the new authorization in FY 25. If you look at the right hand box, Alan.
so let's just take a look at that, so we're clear, okay?
All right, will do.
Yeah, we'll
So
nail that
I'm
one.
comfortable, I mean, maybe only the green bar should be there.
Sven had strong opinions on these two slides,
But
but
it
in
says,
basically,
it's, the title of the slide says
Yeah.
10-year water capital plan.
I don't know what
But-
that means.
so the
And the
blue.
fund balance has nothing to do with the capital
Okay,
plan.
so let's just talk this through. Part of what the message is on the slide is captured is we always have a fund balance, right? And it's been heavy. And we know
Yeah.
that going into a capital intensive 5-year plan. We've known this. And so we're gonna be drawing that down,
Yeah.
but we're gonna maintain, a fund balance of whatever million or whatever it is. Where the plan is we're with a high burn rate as we come to compliance with the
Yeah.
water quality standard here. Then we get to the point of, this is the routine kind of capital,
Okay, so
Mhm.
make the title 10-year capital plan and fund balance.
okay?
Then it makes,
Okay, yeah,
Cause otherwise I don't understand why fund balance is there.
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, I still don't
I mean,
understand.
if he talks about the capital plan and the fact that we do have a reasonable fund balance, but we're gonna be using that also. And it's, we're gonna start building it back up at the end of the 10-year period.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm comfortable.
And
Okay.
and what's the so what here? Why should I, what do you?
Well, you need to know, why do you need 50 million?
Yeah.
Well, this is
because
gonna be, we're
And-
spending a lot of
and he
money.
said we're not spending it all to begin
All
with.
at once.
We're not gonna borrow
Okay,
it all to
So
begin
this
with.
shows our pattern of
The
spending
big,
over
the
10
big
years.
spending is gonna be the first 3 years.
This is
Maybe
this plan.
Maybe police should to say that, because I don't know what this means. I'm looking at this and I'm the average non-accountant citizen. Do you follow? Maybe you're an
Only because
accountant.
I've heard it explained, like.
Yeah.
this is the fifth time
I
maybe.
just.
This
like,
is
I
a
look at
common
this-
slide that we use in our budget presentations. Normally it has 3 bars and we split.
We
the
did,
3
we
bar
used to have
apart.
this one in here. It used to include the debt.
Yeah,
And Sven was had a strong opinion that he wanted to see the capital plan, fund balance, and because that's really a capital spend. Then the operations is where debt, when we're paying off debt, that's part of our operating expense.
Mhm.
And he wants to show that, and what's important with this is our operating expense is gonna, just for debt alone, 25% a year. Just to carry that debt.
so it keeps telling me.
Say
what-
that again.
So
Tell me what that 25% annual budget impact means.
Yeah,
Oh,
Once we-
25% of our
of our
budget
operating budget
is the debt.
Correct. Is debt.
so So what? So what does that matter to
Debt,
me?
okay, debt is 25% of annual budget impact.
Okay. Okay,
Cause
it
it doesn't.
it doesn't say
Because
that.
it's red
Right.
I didn't understand
Well, it's
that.
actually the same color as the bar, that was the intent.
I understand
So
that.
why
Yeah,
should I
yeah.
care as a citizen?
People in the finance universe care about this. Sven's one of them.
Yeah, I get it.
And we're appealing to them who are
Yeah,
looking
fine,
at the
it's fine.
big budget. The FinCom people would care about this.
Why, and why, it'd be great if they could say why, though, add a sentence of why it matters to those of us who don't
So
understand.
help me, Ellen, why the first 2 years are so big?
For the balance,
No,
Well,
no.
where
It
are we
says-
now?
It says 10. So again, maybe I don't want the fund balance in this slide. Cause the title of the slide says 10.
Oh, got it, right. So we have the fund balance here. And then you wanted fund balance versus debt.
But
It's the
it's
same,
title
it's the same, you see
Okay.
that? It
But the
doesn't change.
title of the slide is 10-year water operations impact.
Impact,
Impact of what?
Impact on what?
our operating expense is gonna be increased. This is our annual operating expense. It's not depreciated or anything. It's just gonna be for debt.
So what does that mean?
I don't buy, okay. So the fund balance is,
We need Sven here. It's hard to have this conversation without.
Bob, do you have any
It's-
insight? You heard, you
fund-
look at
the
these
fund
numbers,
balance is.
help me, help them
Yeah.
understand. And again, this is a lot of stuff that we've seen with the FinCom people. They care about
Yeah,
this.
sure.
Yeah,
They want they want the broader
Yeah,
picture,
I don't see the fund balance having any value on this slide.
okay? But I will bring that back, cause
To
what it
Sven.
was, just to be clear, and again, how we got here.
Sure, it was all three
Was
of them.
because
yeah.
they're all together, and Sven said, no, I don't want, separate them, I want to see the capital plan. So I can see what we're spending and know that it's spread over time and what that looks like, and this shows you, that it's not all next year that we're spending all this money.
So
And-
could Sven, instead of having this picture, say that starting in 27, a quarter of our operating budget is going to be going toward paying off debt?
Just say it,
Yes,
versus having another slide.
yes, the
I hear
picture
you.
doesn't help me.
I hear you.
That's such a succinct way of doing it.
Yeah,
Really get
Because
them
that's,
under
that's the
grasp.
point he's trying to make.
Right, it is.
And all he
He
has to do
doesn't
is.
need the visual,
he-
and it might
correct. I think the visual
overcomplicate it.
complicates it.
Got it.
It really does complicate it.
Yeah,
You're
okay.
absolutely right.
And again, it's the audience.
Yeah,
Sven needed to see it,
I understand.
so, but I hear you. Okay, good. Thank you. You guys are doing what you're supposed to be doing.
And then that's the end of his
Don't say yes, say
presentation.
why. Yeah, and that's basically the presentation.
Yeah.
And then we have some backups, which is, do we really need the water for NAGOG? What if we don't have NAGOG?
Yeah.
That's the question.
Okay, so the next-
I'll probably answer that one.
the next page,
Yeah.
What's an NG, nanogram?
Nanogram per liter.
Nanogram.
You're familiar with hearing milligram per
I think
liter?
of grams as being solid versus liquid.
It's like a milligram. It's just a concentration.
Mass.
Okay, so either change that to parts per billion.
Or PPT.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Because that's what that's what
Yeah,
all
we're
the
talking
other
part
things,
per trillion.
thank you.
You got it.
That makes it much more, to me,
Yeah,
you've introduced something new
right.
that
I think it was probably,
you guys like to
I'm not
talk
throwing
that
anyone
language,
under the
but
bus, but someone brought this to me, oh, this is great. It was probably from somewhere they found it and like, all right, let's customize it for us. So I like it. Yeah,
Carrie has her hand raised.
part per trillion.
perfect. I'm
Okay.
much understanding it now.
It's pretty remarkable. This is a remarkable slide
Yes.
where you talk about
Yeah.
the impact of this
Yeah.
PFAS thing. It's crazy. And then you have this.
Terry has her hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry, Terry. Yeah.
Sorry, just very quickly, again, this whole presentation, I still feel the need to split up PFAS and NAGOG. I know they're related, but where in the presentation are you saying how much of the 50 million is for each one? or, you know, each slide has some PFAS and some NAGOG and, I
So
don't,
Carrie, I'm gonna give you I gotta give you the right answer, but I'm not gonna give it at town meeting, okay?
okay,
The right answer is, at what point did NAGOG no longer become feasible or viable at the site in Acton? You know when that point was?
PFAS.
Today. Today. We knew it was coming, but the fact that once we saw PFAS, look at this slide. We were full design in 2014, 15 for a facility up at the shore of Nagog. We had already done some testing for PFAS and we were non-detect. We looked great. This is wonderful. In 2016, we were already in our design. EPA came up with a standard of 70 parts per trillion. We said, okay, good, we're great. In 2020, we got into, this is when we were in litigation with water rights, so we had to stop the design and construction because we didn't even know if we would have the rights to the pond. Yeah, it's crazy, but I go crazy because people want me to simplify this. I can't, but I'm gonna give you the answer. So in 2020, all of a sudden DEP is saying, well, 20 parts per trillion is a number. California gave a different number. New Hampshire, all of a sudden people started going on their own. Never have they done this with drinking water standards. They're supposed to be nationally imposed for consistency and to make it clear. But all of a sudden we started seeing people going their separate ways. And so at 2020, we're saying, okay, we'll get through our litigation. We then started doing some additional sampling, and the analytical techniques to sample were getting increasingly better. So you could measure lower and lower. And in 2021 is when we started getting murmurs of, you know, we're gonna go even lower. We didn't know where, but in 22, EPA came out with an advisory, the health advisory of 4 parts per trillion. In 22, we learned we can't expand our facility. Acton already kept us very contained with what we had. It was tight to begin with.
Size of the filter.
By design.
Yep.
So Terry, you tell me, as of 22, PFAS forced the fact that we had to increase the cost of our treatment at Nagog from, at the time it was about 16 million to 35 million, because we had to, you couldn't build on that property. We had to build by the rotary, and we have to take care of all sorts of things along 2A while we're doing it. So PFAS, the question is, did that drive the significant part of this borrowing? My answer is yes, but it's complicated.
Okay, okay, thank you, Alan. I think, what I'm trying to figure out here is, Alan, you have a real handle on it, as does the board. And you have all this passion about it, and you worked so hard on it, and that really shows. But at town meeting, when we only have like 5 minutes, I'm just trying to figure out, because I did get a lot of comments that, you know, people want this 30-second soundbite, and I don't know how we're gonna do it, but, you know, there's gotta be a way to just answer the wide question. And I don't think, maybe this slide, it shows how much work you've done. It's terrific, but it doesn't answer the town meeting question. Maybe it's a backup slide that you really need, just a really basic thing like, all right, we need 50 million. This is what we need for, I don't know. We're still not there yet, I feel.
All right, so let me try one more thing, and not all the background. We need a total from this point, you know, sort of moving forward of, it's $66 million to provide the supply capacity and quality that the town demands and the regulators require. We need that, and it's to invest and complete the design and construction of a filtration facility with including PFAS treatment at Nagog and 2 groundwater treatment facilities, one at Hugh Cargill and one at Second. That's the cost to design and construct those facilities. That's
Yeah.
the answer.
Okay, so we need a slide on that. That's the slide we need, I think. You know, you carve
Yeah,
up this many
I think that
million.
makes sense.
Okay?
Really, the landscape has changed, you
Because-
know?
Because, you know, it's not just, I mean, town meeting approved 16 and we're now asking for
That's
50
right.
more. Why?
Exactly.
And, you know, 16, back when it was done, would have done what we needed to do to filtrate Nagon.
That's it.
However, that's changed.
Government has changed.
Well, you know, litigation changed, you know.
The intake
the-
changed.
Yeah,
Into that.
and so,
All right, I won't get into that.
Yeah,
Right, I hear you.
Yeah.
And Terry, thank you. I am listening and I'm giving you the courtesy of the long-winded explanation. And anybody who wants to view this online,
yeah, they can
Please.
watch our exciting meeting.
and you know, and just for this group again, and this is the last time this is a backup slide. Melissa Simon City created, and it was really helpful to me.
Uh-huh.
Cause it actually made me go back to say, what happened and why, how did we get here? And what you can see, there's a permitting component that started back in 2014. And it continued with all sorts of local permits. There's the water rights issue that hit us 2018 and 19. Then we have Water Management Act issues that are sort of uncertainties, that's through DEP. We had design, it talks about where we were in 2014. We have a design on the Acton site without PFAS. We then had to convert in 2020 we did an alternative report saying if we can't be at the site, what do we do? And that's when we identified the campus over at the municipal light plant. So then we had to design it for PFAS ready. And then we got the changes in PFAS and we said, now we have to design with PFAS. And so that's on design. And then you see the PFAS line item. Those are the stages of the evolution of how PFAS levels got regulated. And then we had the intake work. That's another major this is for me,
Yeah.
but
for you,
someone wanted to know this is the background.
But 90% of your audience does not.
No.
95%, and I don't mean this.
No,
you don't-
99%.
Don't want to.
You're correct.
Right, this is a lost knowledge kind of thing. You have the knowledge of the history
Jeff, remember this.
There's a lot of shorthand in this too, which
of
is
this event, which.
acronym, like PDR is preliminary design report
Right.
from the engineer.
As a voter, I don't care. Just tell me why I need to worry
Yeah,
about it
I hear
going
you.
forward.
Yeah.
All in 3 minutes.
All right.
I'm gonna do it. Oh, Sven's gonna do it all in 3 minutes.
No, we're gonna talk to.
And he'll be watching this. He will come back.
Oh,
and
good. Oh, good.
He'll see this discussion.
Ben, pay attention.
He'll laugh at us. Yeah.
No, he won't. These are all very legitimate,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
again, we're trying to figure out how to share with the town who's gotta be asked for $50 million to borrow.
Yep.
Why?
Yeah, right.
Yes.
I know that this is very basic and it's at a very basic level of communications, but I would also periodically just remind people this is drinking water. Like, because we were talking about like.
Stormwater, right? Yeah,
stormwater.
right.
Yes, that's a good
This
point.
is like drinking water. This
Good
is what
point.
comes into your home and you drink it and it
It's for
affects
you
the
and your
entire,
kids and your
Yeah.
parents.
your pets.
It's for the children.
For the
Yeah.
Oh, that's a
So,
good point.
I mean, and it's super basic, but people are like, water, water.
Actually,
other stuff.
That's my first slide. Why? You're drinking it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right.
I mean, right there. Oh,
Pretty
I'm
much.
thinking, oh, because people, they'll pay more attention maybe.
That's right.
But the other things that came up in other meetings
Yeah.
that we went to, and I don't remember if it's FinCom or Select Board, but, that this is getting in line for this funding is the best case scenario for Concord.
Yeah.
Because we could get our principal forgiven, we could get interest forgiven. We don't have the same, we're not.
Or low interest rates.
Yeah,
or-
low interest rates, like,
yeah.
we don't have the same access, we're probably not gonna get the state and federal funding that may be offered to other communities. So for Concord, this is the best.
Yeah, we're gonna
scenario
go
for
for the
Vermont.
best
Yeah.
financial model
And
we
we're
have,
just
which
in
is a low
line for
interest.
it. We're
Right.
getting in a line for it, and I know you've said several times, but maybe not today, but like, we won't borrow it if we don't need it.
That's
But we
right.
will probably need it.
Yeah.
But if we're not gonna just borrow it, with a, like. we'll borrow
No,
if we
and
need
I
it.
had to hedge that if we need it. Now, I'm telling you,
Yeah.
you
We will
need
need
it.
it, yeah.
Yeah, today
A
happened.
bullet style change would
Yeah.
help, yeah,
Oh,
and that next.
So
best
I know
choice.
those have been made at other meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but, like,
oh, I
it's
know,
like-
yeah, yeah.
I think people
Our hands might
paid
get tired
attention
from
to that,
colors.
those points in the
Yeah.
past.
Okay, so this is all helpful. This is, okay.
But we
I think
tried
we-
a different style on the tiering and
Yep.
help show the levels. Just wanna
All
make
right,
it.
Terry, did you have another question? Your hand is up or no? I think, okay. Oh, Carlin Reed has her
Okay.
hand up. Carlin?
Hi, it's Carlin Reed, member of the Finance Committee, talking, speaking for myself, though. It is important, I think, that you show the fund balance, or at least say it somehow, because we know you've been saving money. And it's
Yeah.
important from our perspective to know that you're using what you've been saving and that you still need more. So today's the first time, Alan, I heard you say $66 million. That's when it clicked for me. Oh, yeah, right. 16 plus 50. We need that total amount. Second
Yes.
is, you've been saying around the edge that something big happened today. What was that?
The, today is when EPA formally announced a new drinking water standard of 4 parts per trillion. And there's some details in that, but this is what we had anticipated, but had been delayed, and we were waiting for that foot to finally drop, and it did today. So it's a federal drinking water standard that's been, gone through the comment, it went through, the notice, public comment, and now it's been promulgated. So it is a yardstick we have to measure against.
So that was the big announcement. That's what happened.
Yeah,
today.
it was a pretty big announcement.
The
yeah.
networks are carrying it, they're carrying announcents.
I kid you not, I'm expecting a call from BUR to ask what we're doing. I can't wait to tell them.
It's, yeah, it was breaking news.
It's breaking news, yeah. So that's on the water side.
All right.
Let's go to, regrettably, Steve Dukran was under the weather.
Oh.
Okay.
So, I will sort of introduce,
So the storm, as we're going to
we're
stormwater.
going to stormwater. Let me get that.
So before we go to
Please,
stormwater,
yeah,
I want to talk about the Public Works website. Make the stormwater easy to get to. You have to go through engineering and you have to,
Mhm.
put it up,
Sooner rather than
Oh,
later,
but-
just get out there. yeah.
make it one of the things that's on the first page.
Okay,
So that people can go to it.
Linda's listening,
Okay,
yeah. Linda, you are listening? She's listening.
okay.
Yes.
She was muted, yeah.
Thank you.
Excited.
All right, so now I gotta go to the presentation that you have in your packet, stormwater. And again, we will bring to town meeting the actual bylaw.
Yep.
You gotta zoom and share. So this has gone through, and we've had a lot of different sort of opportunities to share this. We did go to the League of Women Voters last, Friday. And, if we go walk through it, this is in the format it's supposed to be for town meeting.
So do you see it as 2 votes then?
Oh, two different,
No, it's one vote.
well, wait a minute.
It's basically, it's
Okay,
2 items that are being voted on.
okay,
That's based on the moderator. This is how her,
yep, okay,
recommendation.
sounds good.
It's one vote, and it's to accept it as, the general provision to establish the fund. And now, after lots of discussion, there's a bylaw
Yep.
that will be, approved. We then go to, very simply, that what is this meeting? This is about the enabling legislation, the establishment of the bylaw. It's a framework. It's in the framework, we identify the Public Works Commission as being responsible. And you will review rates, that will be, formalized at the next town meeting.
Let me know when you want input on how to start at this.
Go ahead.
Okay, go for it.
You gotta start with the problem. again, why should I care? I want photos of what it looks like when a culvert collapses. You've got the good ones on Ministerial Drive. Costly stories. What is it? Why are we even having this conversation? How are things different today than they were, 5 years ago or whatever time? What can we expect if we take no action? You need to start with the problem and engage me emotionally before you give me an implementation schedule. I don't know what I'm implementing. I don't have any emotional connection to the problem. Which shouldn't be difficult,
Mhm.
but just, I would recommend an intro slide that has photos of what it looks like when it's bad,
Oh, yeah.
flooding.
The one with the big house with the picket fence with the lake in front of it. right?
Yeah, so we'll bring all that, we have
Yeah,
those,
Put that
bring them
right
up
up front.
front.
This
Yeah.
is the change. This is
Right.
why we're.
I think, Sven can just ask the question. Why is this important?
Right,
Why are we
right.
bringing this article to you?
Then I would go to slide 1, 2, 3, which is stormwater budget drivers. The fact that really what's causing these problems, what's feeding these
Or what
problems?
do we need to keep
Yeah,
maintenance?
right,
Yeah.
old and aging infrastructure, unfunded mandates, whatever the list of things that are causing.
So that's this slide here?
Yes, that should be number 2. I mean, you've got the article slide, so it should be number 3. Then go to implementation.
Got it.
schedule.
Okay.
Yeah, the implementation schedule is like, no one's gonna
I
register
can't
that
think about that.
until third.
I
maybe
should
third slide
process
is
that
finished,
until I
because
know the
it's-
problem.
Yep,
Yeah.
I got it.
That's a good, yeah,
Okay.
good story.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, thank you.
That's fine.
Hmm.
And then basically this slide gets into sort of the brass tacks of the need. That's it. It's a $1.5 to $2 million a year of need.
Keep telling me that it's not, as soon as you can say,
We've gotten rid of this. We're no longer gonna have this in the,
why?
because we're not certain what that will be.
Anything you can do, though, to say to me, ballpark, what the costs are gonna
Yeah,
be?
I think that's very valuable.
Because I'm sitting there thinking about this vote you're asking me for, is it $10,000 a year? How
Okay,
much?
so
a
we've
year?
had this what's your thoughts?
I think we never saw numbers 150 to 250 before this slide.
Yeah.
Like it was more like 1 to 200, which I think matters. I think that makes a difference per household. And I think Sven made the point that you're not gonna get $2 million your first year.
Mhm.
It's gonna be lower because you don't wanna hit people with 250 necessarily right away.
Give me a ballpark, because otherwise I don't know what you're talking about.
So I heard you and I heard Sven and others. So this is a number. And then we
Ballpark.
said if we.
1 to 200.
Yeah. We can put that in. Because really, just to be clear, it's whatever is acceptable to the town is what the funds are. Presently, it is unfunded, or it's
Right, right.
funded, but not,
It's
by
funded,
plan.
it's funded from other
yeah,
things that
exactly,
don't get done.
exactly.
But when it gets funded next year, we are thinking in terms of these range. You can even fudge, you can even
No, it's
hedge
just,
it a little.
and it doesn't have to be, I mean, any funding is gonna be a success, just the
Mhm.
establishment of the framework is a success.
Just
so.
don't scare me, because I'm
Right.
no knowledge.
No, I completely understand, that's where, to some people, what is the threshold of?
This depends on this, though. As an enterprise, it'll be funded by the users.
Correct, I mean,
System.
that's a big number. So you need to give them an idea of what the range of a residential.
Yeah, because, otherwise I'm too worried.
Yeah. How much of the 2 million
Yeah,
does my house have?
yeah, right. Am I gonna have to move out of town?
Well, the good news is the other towns are either not investing and you'll spend, or they are investing, you'll spend.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're not moving away from the problem.
okay,
And then what's really important is the incentives for, reduction
Yep,
of what you can do on your property to try and establish a
Right.
credit, and we do have that kind of built in.
mhm,
We talked about the bylaw in the event that people, why is the bylaw important?
mhm.
The bylaw is the framework, and so this is you know, its, purpose is to fund these activities.
Would this be useful as part of that wide
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we got a whole bunch of them, yeah. that we'll-
Get the
we'll
ugliest,
front
get the
load.
ugliest
Right.
ones.
Yeah.
That's not bad there either.
We have-
I think the top left is the ugliest from the,
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty
Which one?
eye-opening.
the one.
This one over there?
Oh, yeah.
And then really
Yeah,
just,
right.
and-
Yes,
and-
You know, the one below it too. I mean, the
Yes,
fact that
yes.
roads are getting washed out. or-
yes, yes.
so in fact, we can push those up to the front.
Yeah.
And keep these just very simple, you know,
Mhm.
slides, cause he's gotta go through them.
Yeah.
You know, it's
You,
just,
you could put those pictures and the price tag next to it of what that costs to fix in an emergency situation. And where did that money come from? Where did that emergency money come from?
It came from not filling potholes.
Yeah, it came from road work, right?
the culvert ferry.
On the other hand, this slide,
one? This
I
one?
made a note and said, cover this fast. Why do I need to know this? The structure of the bylaw.
Because the whole framework is, the intent is to allow people to know we've thought through, these are a model that we've looked at other communities. And this is what's important. This is so that you know what you're voting on is not just some sort of arbitrary, we've had this discussion, do we have the bylaw or not? So this is simply, Sven will go through very quickly
Yeah,
what each section of the bylaw is and its intent. It's a quick
yeah, okay.
go through.
I love the pictures.
And then that's basically just to remind people, you know, that we've had this information out. We just need to make it a little bit more available on the
Yeah,
website, yeah.
You know, because if we, you know, it's not that people watch our meetings necessarily, but, yeah, but if they talk to somebody else, you know, oh, it's on the Public Works website, well, you have to be willing to go doing some navigation the way it is now.
I do see we're trending.
Oh, yeah. We're up to 5?
Terry, don't leave. So, Carlin, are you there? No.
Yeah.
I hear you. So that's, and then I think, yeah, he's got some backup slides, you know, this is if people ask, where else is this happening?
Yeah, I think
It's available.
those might be available.
Yeah, that's just for,
Yeah, I like that. That was good to see other towns.
so these are the backups.
Yep.
And I think that's where we're gonna leave it.
I would not show that slide with the maps. It's way too small for the.
Oh, you just like the list of,
I love the list. That's
Okay.
great. you
Yeah.
know. But the maps, these are gonna be impossible to see
Mhm.
in a big auditorium. I just can't, they just will be meaningless to me.
Mhm.
If they're in a handout, maybe, but it'll just be, you know, useful, not
Okay.
useful.
yeah.
The other two things, maybe as backup slides, or maybe Sven can just say them, but like, I don't always get the impression when people are asking questions that they understand the difference between like what's tax funded and like the general fund and the enterprise fund, which gets money from fees that you pay into a utility. I don't know if everyone understands that, but like, we're going from just having taxpayers fund all this work that needs to be done to everyone paying in, like property owners,
right.
all kinds of properties. So it's a much bigger,
The equity issue.
Just
and I think
then,
Sven
just then say
understands
that, you know, that this, since it's not property tax, it's all property owners, public, private, whatever.
Yes, he's aware of that, but I'll make sure it's,
Yeah.
I
I
think that,
That's
that's.
really important.
mean, that is
It's an
important, it
equity.
comes up, people get
Those
confused,
are the
right?
I mean, so schools
places
are
that
paying,
have. not-
schools are
not-
paying
not
too, right?
impervious
Yeah.
surface,
I
yeah.
think that's an equity issue. I think it's
Yeah.
really important to know that
instead
everybody,
of like some people
Yes.
paying, it's all people are paying. It's like
every.
general
entity.
fund versus enterprise tax
I'm
versus.
wondering
I
here.
don't know if
Yes.
everyone understands that. I don't
They
think
don't-
I
they
understood it
don't.
before I started.
Sure,
coming
that's
here.
where you got involved,
Yeah.
yeah.
I have one, Jeff, I have one other tiny point on the list of towns that are doing this. The word feasibility, many more are exploring the feasibility of adopting a stormwater enterprise fund. Feasibility strikes me as, gee, we have a bunch of options. It sounds like we might or might not do it. Is there another word there that could, many are exploring how to adopt
Well, how
or
about our exploring adopting?
exploring
Let's get
adopting?
rid of the feasibility of it.
Because feasibility
Our
sounds.
Exploring adopting.
I could
In
choose
fact, I
not
just
to.
saw Wellesley went through this same two-step process, and
Really?
they just adopted the second step this town meeting.
Oh, really? Interesting. That'd be what might be worth mentioning.
Mhm.
The other thing that came up, I think at the select board was that, they wanted to know, like, if we vote on this, is this a done deal? Now we're gonna start getting these utility bills for stormwater, but no.
Not
it's
the
a
next
different
step.
path, Yeah,
Not until there's a budget.
and there will be public hearings about the rates.
Yeah.
Here at Public Works.
Right here,
Commission.
exactly.
Right.
Which
Have
anyone
fun.
can come to and visit and.
Finally, people will show up. So that-
Like, I think that's important to.
In fact, maybe this doesn't become, maybe this is a response to a question. Cause it will be asked.
That'd be fine to me.
So then you're
Fine
not-
with me.
Like, you're not going, why are you showing me this? When
Yes.
someone asks, oh, I know why you're showing me this. That might be a way
That
of,
could be teed up
Yeah.
as one of the first
Yeah.
right,
subsequent.
yep,
Yeah,
that works for, cause it'll happen.
yeah.
And I would think about us maybe then replacing that with the slide about the different funds, enterprise versus general, taxpayer versus fee-based. Some versus all paying into this utility.
That might be something. You know, and maybe right under the Public Works Commission, establishing rates. We'll see, I'll see, I know what you're saying there. Yeah.
Cause the thing is, if we keep paying for all these emergencies out of our money for roads. That's funded by taxpayers, that's what makes taxes go up, which nobody wants. So,
Exactly.
I mean, it is a different way of paying, but it's a more equitable way of paying for this.
Well, the other thing that's important, and you know, I love this, cause I feel like I'm the skunk at every picnic. Which is fine, cause I just try to deal with the facts, but this MS4 permit is requiring people to be more responsible for the management of stormwater. And part of it is things that we don't love. Part of it is things we like, environmental protection, but we don't wanna pay for it. This is requiring both looking at the assets and managing it and being sort of adapting for climate and making sure your systems are working. But it's also to improve the environment by improving the quality of discharge.
Mhm.
And it's
Right.
not cheap, and it is by design. This is kind of like the NAGOG one. This goes back to 2003. It's 20 years. And it's not by accident, it's by design that EPA has said you need to do some education, housekeeping. You need to do your inventory and assess what you have. And then you gotta get in and actually have a program and plan to deal with it. That's what this slide's about.
And,
I
and
mean,
this,
the thing is, we should have been doing all of those things
If you didn't have,
earlier,
Yeah.
but no one was pushing us.
exactly,
But now that someone's pushing us, we're realizing, oh my God, it's a lot bigger issue than
that's
we
right,
thought about, because all we've done is fix problems instead
exactly.
of try
is there
to
another,
eliminate future problems.
before you change slide, is there another title you could put on that? MS4 permit means absolutely nothing to me. Yeah, but even municipal separate storage.
Right,
sewer system.
I can never memorize what
I
that
know,
is.
but
I always have to remember,
Could
you
you
say,
could you say what is an MS4 permit or? what the
stormwater,
history-
it's a stormwater, you know.
Yeah, you know
federal
this,
permit.
I don't
Yeah,
know,
right,
I just see
right.
MS4.
No, what I'm saying is
This
maybe
is
it's,
more about the history.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
History of
but
MS4.
if you just put it as federal stormwater permit
I hear you,
as the top.
And then you have over here.
MS4 on the side.
right,
Or history of the MS4
Yeah,
permit, which is really what that is.
Is Concord unique in having a separate stormwater sewer system?
no.
I mean, cause a lot of places, like I know the Cape is dealing with their combined sewer.
That's a
and
different
stormwater.
one,
It's- I
yes.
know it's different, but like, that's.
Well, you
worse.
say you know only because you're here, most people would, you know, it's all the same, but that is,
Did you say Cambridge or the Cape?
Isn't the Cape?
not
dealing with-
yet, the Cape doesn't
CSF?
have that kind of,
Cause they're dealing with all
infrastructure.
kinds of, no, they have a combined sewer stormwater system, right?
there,
Is it-
if,
Aren't they dealing with all their?
so most of the larger urban areas have combined sewer overflows, that's what the CSO is, but
Maybe it's Cambridge.
It's early
then.
1900s
Yeah.
design conventions.
Yeah.
to
by
have a
design, you wanna
single
treat
pipe.
it all and get rid of it,
Yeah.
and flush it and it's
Yeah.
gone, isn't
Right,
that
it
great?
was
So
removing-
now, change that design, which is, fortunately Concord doesn't have
Yeah,
that, but
thinking.
I like the idea of simplifying this to, it's a, federal stormwater,
History.
permit, and this is basically kind of, evolution. This is what it is, by design. Carlin Reed has her hand up.
Yeah,
Carlin?
hey, Carlin.
Well, just to prove that, yes, someone does pay attention to you guys. Andrea, you asked me to come, so here's my input. This,
Your numbers are up.
yeah, because more. Have you guys really thought about who's going to be most impacted by this stormwater fund? Is it going to be the hospital? Is it going to be the public schools? Is it going to be the nonprofits? Who's going to really feel the bite on this?
Well, the intent is it'll be done in a way that is equitable, and we haven't done the full analysis yet. And equitable means that if you have, it's kind of like a water use, if you have a higher impact, you'll be charged more. And impact is impervious cover driven. And that's to be determined to do the detailed analysis. That detailed analysis will feed into the rate setting hearing. And that's where people can ask the questions. And then we'll know who's gonna be affected in almost to a parcel.
Is
Yeah.
there,
I
is
mean,
there,
anybody that has a big parking lot that doesn't have mitigation for stormwater,
Is likely gonna have
It's gonna have a
higher
big-
fee, right?
And big roofs.
like,
Yeah.
like Emerson Hospital? I mean, look at that parking lot, right?
Have you been there lately?
What?
I have.
Look at Baker
well,
Alley.
You know what they charge you there?
Yes, I do. They're gonna have to raise their parking rates out. Well, that was.
Believe me, this will not be a blip on Emerson's
I
hospital
really,
budget.
I don't see, I have no idea what the charges are gonna be,
No, right, but even so, I can tell you from experience, it won't be a blip.
I get it. Oh, God.
Thanks.
All right, sorry.
Thanks, Carlin.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, we're getting better and better. That's
Yeah, well,
the intent.
we've got two big issues.
Yeah,
Well,
they're big issues,
three, if you wanted to do cell towers.
Yeah, really.
yeah.
So is there anything
So
else?
I think we're pretty much done.
No, I think what we need to do is determine who is willing to stand up in the event of Sven is taking the heavy lift of those that are identified, we know the stormwater and,
I can do easements, no problem.
okay.
Oh, good.
And if any of the other expenditures come off,
You're willing to step up? Jim is taking one for the team, his final,
it's final.
Final
event.
hurrah.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
I won't,
But if it happens on May 1st, I'm off.
all right, May 1st
Is
is
Wednesday.
Wednesday,
Oh, it is. That's so strange.
all right, so.
Well,
We just won't tell them. I'll say I'm a former public works commissioner.
Oh, wait a minute, no, May 1st it's after town meeting, that's still town
No,
meeting.
no, my card says April 30th.
Oh,
I mean, that's how all the cards are made out.
all right, okay, interesting.
That's,
But yeah.
I thought it was that or after, immediately after town meeting.
Yeah. I
I'll
don't
use
think-
that
It's not a
technicality.
problem.
Okay.
Don't worry about
so
it.
is it, town meeting's gonna be the,
It's the last,
29th and 30th.
29th, 30th and
and the
1st. Thank you, Jim. So we have that. This has been good input. So I don't know, I think,
Yeah.
that's just sort of for the minutes, we know who is,
Yeah.
representing, but otherwise I think we're solid.
All right, what do you guys think? Should we meet on the 24th?
hey, why don't we,
Altogether?
can we see?
Or we still want to see?
Can-
Yeah.
can we- It's up to you guys.
Yeah, we'll
You
talk,
guys-
okay?
Okay,
You talk.
We'll
okay,
see what we hear. We'll talk with Sven.
I don't think you're gonna need it.
okay,
Well, no, we'll.
Or spend one.
We'll hold the date.
Hold the date
okay.
and we'll get back as soon as we can. And Andre, we'll talk with Sven. And I think if he's good, I think we're probably fine. There's no other action that I'm aware of would need to be.
Yeah, it would just be for review, which we can even meet right before town
Yeah.
meeting. If not, whatever people are comfortable with, as long as we're prepared.
Mhm.
So I move we adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Right, we're adjourned.